And welcome back, everybody, to Schmoo Talk. I'm your host, Taylor, and today we have an awesome guest. We got Mr. Jason Joy in the house with us. Now, so I'm going to just name off a few of your little accolades here of kind of what you do.
Accolades, okay.
I'm going to call them accolades.
I'll take it.
So, musician.
Sure.
Of course. Barber,
yes.
right?
Sure. Yes.
Teacher?
Kinda.
For drumline?
Not really.
That's
to call me a teacher would be disrespectful to every real educator in the world. But I do get the opportunity to work with
instructor, maybe.
Yeah,
like
instructor.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Business owner.
Yes.
And dad.
Yes.
Hey, there you go, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is.
It sounds exhausting though. At the same time.
We've been trying to do this for what, like?
Oh man, I don't know. A month.
Now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, we're all busy, man.
Oh, dude.
But yes, many things.
Exactly. So where do you want to kind of start, man? Like, say
wherever you want, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just start kind of right from the beginning.
Do it.
Where are you from?
I am from here.
Sedalia. You are from Sedalia.
I am.
Awesome.
My family's been here forever.
Mm-hmm.
We had the John Deere dealership for a long time.
Okay.
And obviously buyouts, stuff like that.
Right.
And now business, we have, Missouri Barber Company, which is great. So we have that going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've been in town. I've been in here forever. Graduated from Smith Cotton in 2008.
Okay.
And now I get the opportunity to go back. I'm the percussion coordinator for the band department.
Okay.
So I get to go back and work in the department that I grew up in, which is really cool. So I'm the drumline instructor, stuff like that. Do all anything you hit, I'm in charge of, which is kind of fun. Well, I get to pretend. They let me pretend to be in charge of it.
Well, there you go.
They give me like just enough rope to where I feel like I'm in charge, but I'm not. Like they're still pulling the strings, which is for the best for everybody.
Right. Exactly.
So it's great.
Well,
yeah.
Good, man. That's awesome. Here. That's awesome. So, I mean, what kind of got you into that? Like, what made you decide to be like, you know what, I can probably go and help them guys? So, or did somebody come to you?
It was kind of a mix of both. I had seen the band at the Christmas parade a few years ago, and I noticed like the directors, but I didn't notice anybody with the drum line, which usually means that there's probably not a percussion coordinator, or that person's just not there. Who knows?
Gotcha.
But I just happened to be I was a barber, and so I was cutting a kid's hair that was in band. I was like, "Hey man, who's your drumline coordinator?" He said, "I don't have one." I said, "Well, you probably should."
Right.
And then so through all of that, it ended up where we had a dinner. They said, "Hey, do you want it?" I said, "Well, sure, that'll be fun." And we're here now, and it's a lot of fun. I'm in my second year now, which is really fun because I've already had like a group come and go through and graduate, and then now I have like others that are coming up. It's just really cool to like have that second year. Like they know me now, right? They know me. They know what they're going to have to deal with. Everybody's cool. And so that first year we had to figure it out, and then now we get to have a lot of fun.
Exactly.
And so it's going really well. I'm enjoying it.
Was it fairly stressful kind of going back into that environment a little bit, or was you like pretty familiar with it because you have been there before?
Yeah, so it was stressful from a point of I've been out of that like marching educational world for so long,
right?
That I felt like maybe I was just behind the time. You know, like I didn't know what was hip and cool anymore, which was very valid because stuff that I thought was really cool. And I went back and did some research, watched like the last 5 years of just college and Drum Corps International just stuff, right? Just to see what's happening. And all the stuff that I thought was cool wasn't really happening anymore. And so it was good to know though. And because like there's trends in everything, right? There's trends in music, there's trends in everything.
I mean, it's kind of like a reality check sometimes. Because all of a sudden you're just like, oh, that's not relevant anymore?
Yeah.
It's like, when did that happen?
Yeah, so I got to feel old and very like I should have been paying attention and I wasn't.
Right.
So yeah, back onto that. And like I got to it and I understood it. And now I think I've kind of got a grasp of what's cool and we're just trying to figure out how to do it.
Now, do you see like carryover like coming actually from the barbershop to that a little bit too? Like almost, I mean, because like that, like trying to stay up to date with, what's hip and what's cool. I mean, that carries right on over to styles of hair and everything as well, right? I mean,
so as far as like barber styles and stuff like that, like common trends in haircuts, right?
Right.
So I actually I don't follow any like U.S. barbers or like famous ones or anything like that because there's celebrities in every world, right? This is the same thing in barbering.
Yeah.
I don't really follow the U.S. guys. I follow like people overseas because generally like what happens over there comes over here like 2 years later.
Okay.
And that's kind of what's been happening. Like whenever I was in barber school, there were all these like super weird looking like fringy hip mullet things, right? And then we did that mullet thing for a couple years.
Well,
right?
yeah,
And then
exactly.
now the whole '90s styles are coming back. Man, I've done more bowl cuts than I care to admit. I make fun of every one of them I do. But
Right.
man, I got at least 3 like cool pictures of a bowl cut. Like that was my thing too. So I'm talking a lot of shit on it, but I'm a big fan of them too.
Exactly.
So I'm just waiting for like the Guy Fieri like frosted tip thing to come back.
Oh, it'll come back.
Now we're doing that. Like we're about 4 years away from the frosted tip, man.
See, around here we call it a Missouri mud flap. That's
some classy stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's cool, man. And we'll kind of, like say, talking about like the barbershop and things like that. We'll kind of round back around to music and stuff here in a little bit. But like starting that, I mean, what kind of got you into that world per se? Like, I mean, of course, you're a business owner. You've had this for a little while. It's doing really well. It's just one of those where it's like, what even got you into the realm of being like, maybe I could cut hair and do that too?
So I what's really fun with hair is I don't think anybody knows that they can do it unless they did like kitchen hair or stuff like that, like growing up. Mm-hmm. But like I never held a clipper in my entire life until I went to barber school, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're taking this complete shot in the dark, which is hopefully I'm good at this.
Right, yeah.
Because you don't know. You have no idea. Mm-hmm. And you can try to learn, but I think a lot of it is just natural in some way. Like you can only learn so much. Anyway, it's a really interesting industry in that aspect that like you don't know you can do it until you've already taken out a pretty sizable loan to go to barber school and committed a pretty good amount of your time to it, and you're hoping you can do it. So it's kind of a scary thing to jump into, right?
Were you like interested in it? I mean, like years before that?
Kind of, sort of, and not really. So my grandfather is Wiley Walter. He started Walter's Barbershop in 1958, which is here in town still. They're still open. They're still doing great.
Awesome.
And so with that, it's always been in the back of my head that like that's there, right? Like maybe that would do it. And so I was in the corporate world for a while doing this insurance thing, and it was going really well, but it just wasn't right? I don't belong on the board. It's weird. So I was like, let's give it a shot. And so I moved back here and started barber school on a whim, and my family was gracious enough to hire me at their barbershop, and so I worked there for 5 years, and it just worked, and I'm really happy it worked.
Right.
But it definitely wasn't a thing that was in my mind until one day it was like, let's just go see if it works, because I'm tired of what I'm doing now, and I don't have any better options. So it's, let's try that.
Exactly. Now, okay, so like that, like working for your family, and say been in a shop, been there since 1958, it's been doing well. So like when you were working there, like I'm just kind of wondering, it's like what made you decide to step away from that aspect of it instead of just staying there and just kind of rocking and rolling with that?
They were doing some like really good stuff, right? I mean, that business has been in business still to this day. I think it's the longest standing barbershop in town still. That's going really well. They have that avenue going, right? And then 3 of my friends are also barbers, and they were like, a few of them were kind of talking about doing their own thing. Okay. And because it's one of those industries where you can do your own thing. It's one of the very few industries anymore where if you you can start your own business and survive, right? There's not a whole lot of that anymore. It's really hard to do.
Right.
And so we're lucky enough that we have that opportunity on occasion. And some of our friends were like, hey, we're starting a shop. Do you want to get in on it? And it seemed like a pretty good idea and a pretty good way to just put my own mark on the industry rather than coattailing a family name.
Exactly.
And to do that was scary, and it's been way more successful than I ever would have imagined. And luckily, that's because I have 3 partners. So they're all way better than me and way cooler than me and way more successful than me. And thank God, because I can ride their coattails now too. I'm a coattail rider, man. Family name, those 3 guys. I'm just in the back pulling up the.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say you're riding coattails now as much as you're a businessman. You're putting people in positions of where they need to be to make that business successful.
Sure. So our business is there's me and there's Rory Colburn and Stephanie Flick and Josh Hesse.
Okay.
And we split. It's all 25%, 100%. Right. That is just everything we do is voted on, is thought about, is talked about. Granted, some of us push a little harder because I don't give up on anything, and that's great.
Exactly.
But man, it's all like without one of us, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. There's no way.
Exactly.
We talk about it all the time when people come in, like, how's business? And we're like, dude, it's still good. Like we're surprised. It shouldn't be. There's no way it should be.
Right.
Our slow months never got slow. The big months never got huge. It's just been good. Right.
Now, like as far as like the help that you have there, or the other 3 pillars of what this business is.
Yeah.
Now, like, did you all go to school together?
Yeah. So no, not at all. We actually two of us knew each other, and two of us knew each other, and then we came together, right?
Okay.
And so I actually met Rory because of music. Man, this whole thing is full circle.
Oh,
And that's just like
exactly.
small town life. Though. It's like
Exactly.
everything connects the dots somewhere.
It's perfect.
But I met Rory through my band, Dear Pretender, which we'll get to at some point.
Oh yeah.
And then Stephanie was his friend, so I met her through him. And then I worked with Josh, and so it all just came together that way.
I got you.
But no, none of us like me and Rory knew each other the best, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rory was actually Josh's teacher in hair school because he was teaching at the school, and so he was his teacher. And now they're business partners, which is just a whole fun little full circle.
I got you.
Now,
where did you go to school at?
I went to the Academy of Salon Professionals.
Okay.
I never remember what it's called. It's over by what used to be Orchard. That's all the sign change.
Okay, so you did it right here in town. You did it local.
Yeah, barber program in town.
Nice.
I think Josh went to the one. It just closed, unfortunately. American College of Hair Design. It was by Applebee's. Josh and Rory, and then Rory taught there. I think Rory went to school there. Mm-hmm. I have no idea where Steph went. I should probably know that. It's probably somewhere in Columbus. That sounds right.
Right.
But yeah, no, none of us went to school together or anything. There's some weird connections through school with the whole teacher thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no.
Well, one thing that I always find kind of fascinating, really, especially when you go into any kind of barbershop, is like everybody kind of has their own vibe, their own style, their own way of doing certain things, and going in there kind of like if you're wanting this certain thing, you're probably going to go to this guy. If you're wanting this certain thing, you might go to this guy. How long did it take you to kind of develop your style into that? Like, was that something that you developed like when you was at school, like when you was kind of learning, where you're like, man, it's like maybe I'm kind of like maybe this style of haircut I jive more with. You know what I mean? Like maybe I've practiced this more or anything like that. Or was there some part of it when you was, maybe after the fact where it's like, I need to separate myself from just a generic haircut. Like I want somebody like, whenever they leave here to be like, oh man, it's like when they look at it, it's like, I know exactly who cut your hair. Like that looks good. You know what I mean? It's like, how did you develop that?
So in school, you kind of just learn these are scissors, right? And this is how you don't cut your finger off. And then your first 5 weeks of being in an actual busy barber shop, you learn everything, right? And so it's like a fire hose, whatever that analogy is.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah. So for like the first 5 to 6 weeks, I was just watching, right, and just taking everything in. And so I think that a person develops the style, a barber develops the style wherever they go first. Mm-hmm. They kind of, that's what you learn the most from, and then that's just how it ends up, I think. Mm-hmm. So I was in a very traditional barbershop, obviously 1958. It's very traditional. It's very old school. Mm-hmm. And so now I think if I was to be described as like a modern or traditional or contemporary barber, whatever it is, I'd be a traditional barber,
Okay.
I'm traditional. I use a razor on the neck. It's just like normal, traditional, everyday stuff, right?
I got you.
But I think that all that comes from your first shop where you go after you get licensed.
Okay.
So it's just wherever you end up.
Now, did you develop, like whenever you was like working for your family, when you was doing that there, it's like, did you develop a lot of clientele that followed you over to your business now?
Man, way more than I could have ever imagined.
Really?
It was insane.
Yeah. Okay.
Because so it's funny because like when you're in barber school, 9 out of 10 customers will tell you, yeah, I'm going to come follow you to your barbershop. Mm-hmm. And maybe one of them does.
Right.
And what's amazing, though, is that I think we counted the other day, I have 6 or 7 people that I have been cutting still that I met in my like first week on the floor in school cutting hair.
Really?
Which is crazy to me. I mean, those people have been with me from the beginning, right? It's really cool. Mm-hmm. But it's way more people came over there, which was really cool, man. We're still surprised every day when people come in. And we're like, man, what? Why are you here? Thank God you're here. But we're so appreciative that anybody comes there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that first couple weeks when we opened, man, there were people would pull up, and the first couple weeks you're scared to death.
Oh, of
when
course,
you start a business, you're like, well, and for us it was like right after Christmas. And so we had a bunch of kids, and we're like, well, those credit cards aren't paid off, so let's see if we can't make some money here with a brand new job.
Yeah.
And luckily, those credit cards still aren't paid off. Man, I'm just kidding. But they are. It's scary, man. And so every person that pulls up, you're looking out the window, and you're like, who is that, man? Mm-hmm. And it was crazy because people would pull up, and they're like, man, I think I know that car from before. And then they get out, and you're like, holy crap, they're here,
Mm-hmm.
And that's just really cool because all we really did was put out some social media posts and be like, hopefully somebody likes and follows this brand new page that you get 5,000 invites to a day. No one's looking at that stuff.
Exactly.
But man, yeah, we had a ton of people follow us. It was really cool. We see new people every day too, which is really cool.
Right.
We had a guy the other day that was from some other state, but he was like told to come to us from somewhere, and that was just really neat. And so there's just a bunch of stuff like that that's cool. Yeah, we see new people, we see old people. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's awesome. I mean, because that to me is always a good sure sign of just how you all are doing at that, at the shop. Mm-hmm. Because like that good word spreads fast, bad word spreads even faster.
Yes, it does.
You know what I mean? So it's like if you're getting more clientele and only good things are coming and showing, it's like that's a really, really good sign. Yeah. Now, like especially, like you say, it's like we see new people, all the time, every day almost. Mm-hmm. It's like how has that been like accommodating for the more people coming in all the time? Because like for me, it's like, well, I always remember too. It's like even like growing up, it's like, well, most of the time it's like if your dad had a barber that he went to, like for me, it's like, well, I always went with my dad to his barber.
Yeah.
And you kind of adapt that. And it's like you almost like people like never leave their barber in a sense. You know what I mean? Just kind of like you were saying, you're like, they've been with me since week one. It's like, exactly. It's like there's a lot of people that way, especially with a barber per se, Sure. And it's one of those too where like how has that been? You're like accommodating for all of that. Has it been like stressful or has it been exciting or both?
So what's been really cool and exciting to see at our shop is there are people. I mean, you go to a barber, you go to a stylist, you go to a whatever, right? Mm-hmm. What's cool and what we find really interesting is that I have people that come to just me, right? But let's say that my kid got sick and they come in the shop. A lot of people are getting comfortable enough to trust any of the other people in there mm-hmm. to cut their hair too. And that's really what we want. It's really nice to be, someone's person and someone's barber.
Right.
But what we want as a barber shop and just as friends of the community is that if you come in there, you feel comfortable going to anybody.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how it's been. I mean, there's obviously people that are your people. But I feel confident to say that like 90% of my customers mm-hmm. would go to any other barber in my shop and feel very comfortable with it. And I would say the same for them. And that's really cool. I like seeing that more than I like seeing someone that's just like, that's my guy, mm-hmm. which I appreciate down to my core, man, because that pays my bills. Thank God. Right. So I appreciate those people. But I like seeing the other side of that because that means that we built something from a shop. Like we all built something rather than I built a really good little business within my chair.
Exactly.
And so did he. But we all built something that actually matters. People just feel comfortable in.
Right.
And I like that better than the that's my guy forever, Like,
exactly.
It feels cool. It feels like we actually made something.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Now, like speaking on that same kind of deal, just like you were saying, it's like if I'm not there, a lot of my people will go, to the next chair. It doesn't matter. It's all going to work just fine because they trust them as well. Now, is there any kind of like, say if somebody come in there and it's like, is there any kind of hairstyle that you would actually be like, hey, I tell you what, like, why don't you wait until they're done?
Yes.
Okay.
But I've just now gotten comfortable enough to do it.
Right? I was getting ready to say, it's like, how do you like turn somebody away when they're just like, hey, bud, your chair's empty?
So I'm in like year 6, I think, and that apparently that's when you're like, okay, I know what I can do and I know what I can't do.
Okay.
And man, I'm sure I could learn,
Right.
But I know what I excel at, and I know what I'm not that great at, and I'm really bad at long hair.
Okay.
Like women's hair. Mm-hmm. Don't give me that. I'm gonna ruin you. You're not gonna like it.
Right.
No one's gonna enjoy the experience. Right.
Right.
I'm just not good at it. I'm not comfortable at it. But I've just now gotten comfortable enough to say, hey, you should probably wait for that guy because he's really good at it.
Right.
And luckily in our shop, man, somebody's really good at everything. Mm-hmm. And that's really cool because we do. Everybody but me there is really good at women's hair, or long men's hairstyles, or perms and stuff like that. Right. Mm-hmm. I'm just not.
I got you.
But damn, they're good at it, and so we get to be like, hey, yeah, wait for them because you're gonna have a better experience, and for me, the shop's happy. You're happy with my shop. That's awesome.
Now, like, do you factor in like, especially like say like dealing with long hair and things like that? You're like, hey, I'm just not as good at it as some. Do you factor that into maybe like who you was watching like overseas, like maybe who your idols were as far as like with barbery and things like that?
I guess I don't know. So I follow just like a very few people because man, I look at hair all day. I don't look at hair all day when I'm scrolling. I want to see that really cool golf shot or something.
Exactly.
But what I follow are kind of like modern traditional dudes. So like I really like doing stuff like flat tops, right?
Okay.
Like very old school flat tops.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people that get them anymore. So not a lot of opportunities to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So I follow these dudes that do like really cool looking flat tops, but they're like long and sweet looking.
Is it the ones where they let go of the clippers with the string?
Yeah. It's just like just really cool stuff, man.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's what
I gotcha. That's awesome, man. So is like you said you're more like a traditional style barber. So like do you like more of like the old school style cuts? Like whenever they come in there, or is it kind of one of those where you're like, I'll do anything?
Oh, yeah, I'll do anything.
Gotcha.
I like doing anything.
Okay.
I don't want to do the same 5 things over and over again.
Right.
But everybody's head's different, so every haircut's different either way.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't really stick to like just certain things. There's just very specific few things like long women's hair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not good at.
Right.
Anything else, throw it at me. I'll have fun with it. You'll have fun with it, and it'll probably be okay.
How do you do with like children's hair? Do you like doing children?
Yeah, I mean that's what a business is built on.
Right.
Kids, right?
Well, and I figured as much, what I
Yeah.
mean? Because just like I was saying, it's like, well, I remember going with my dad, to
Yeah.
the barbershop,
Yeah,
as a little
absolutely.
kid,
Yeah, no, we get to see kids. So we were just talking about it the other day, and I have kids that like they show up, and I'm like, dude, how did you get here? Where's your dad? And they're like, I'm driving. I'm like, the hell you are, man. Like I've been cutting them long enough to like see that and not realize it, and that's kind
Right.
of cool.
Yeah.
Got invited to like graduation parties and stuff, from kids that I don't remember them driving,
Right.
And so, yeah, man, and then like them the little bitty ones too.
Mhm.
We have a lot of first haircuts in there. We go through those certificates pretty good, and,
I bet.
and we enjoy it, man. Sometimes not a great time, a lot of crying kids, but hey, we probably did. So it's
Well,
okay,
of course.
we'll get through it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was always kind of one of those, is like going to the barbershop is just kind of like going to the grocery store. It's like, all right, hands to yourself. You speak when spoken to.
Yeah.
You wait your turn, Now, and like speaking on that same kind of deal, it's like my dad always told me, and it was so funny because it was always true. But we go to the barbershop. It did not matter the day.
Mhm.
And there was just like, there's always them old heads that was like sitting in there, and they're there every day. And, and the thing is, like, they will get a haircut every day.
Mhm.
Now, whether or not they're getting anything actually done,
There's not much happening.
there's not much happening.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's like clean up the facial hair, and, they may get a straight razor shave or anything like that, or they call that a hot shave. Okay, that's what I figured. Yeah, exactly.
Face shave. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, do you have any of that going on yet, or
I think the world is a little more fast paced now, and
Okay.
there's not a lot of times to rely. I mean, think of the last time that you had time to just go sit and do whatever you want.
well, exactly.
It doesn't happen,
Right.
right? And so it's so hard for people to just have those.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we have a lot of that in a way. There's
Okay.
people that just kind of stop in and they don't want a haircut. They're just hanging,
There to socialize a little
which
bit.
is kind of the whole purpose. Like we have an arcade cabinet, we have a foosball table, we have an Xbox in the back, we have darts on the wall.
Oh, wow.
Our floor is not straight at all. We got a little putting green thing that you can just try to figure out where the floor is going. People just come hang sometimes, especially
Yeah, well, yeah.
we got the little neighborhood kid that rolls up there and doesn't even say hi. He's just like, all right, see you. And 2 hours later when he's done playing the arcade cabinet.
Yeah.
And yeah, cool, man. So I don't think that it's now there's probably some places that are, you can go in there and see the same dude sitting there smoking the same Pall Mall for, the whole time.
Well, exactly.
But I think in general the world's a little too fast paced now for that.
I gotcha.
But there's a new modern version of that, which is
Mhm.
coming in and saying hey and playing a quick game of foosball and then getting on the way,
Right.
So yeah, we have a little bit of that. There are certain people that only come on Saturdays because we have donuts on Saturdays.
Oh,
That's a
exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
That's a thing.
Well, for sure.
For sure.
Free anything
Yeah,
is
for
a
sure.
thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wouldn't matter what it was. If it was coffee or donuts or popcorn, whenever I worked for Side and Strickers there at Tipton, which is a John Deere dealership,
Yeah.
it was one of those where it's like every now and then they'd make popcorn. And I mean, they would line up in there to get that popcorn, and it's nothing special, but it's free.
Man, when I was working at WK and they would make the cookies, and I've been gone long enough that I can admit it, but man, I think I took half of them.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
those were definitely for somebody, not me, but I took them. So, they were great
Well, exactly.
because they were free.
Right. Man, that's awesome. So, and you say, now, how long have you been in business?
We're in year 2 now.
You say year 2.
We opened in 2020.
Okay.
Yes. Man, I'm really bad at dates. It's on the sign.
Mm-hmm.
2020, I think. I never look at it.
I got you.
I got in trouble for a password thing. I made it the wrong date. So does it say it on there? Our graphic designer doing well.
Says established 2022.
2022. That's when it was. Yeah, see, I told you I was bad at the dates. 2022.
Exactly. All right.
It was January of 2022.
Has there been anything that, like, as far as, like, let's just talk, like, maybe, like, unexpected expense that, what, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Has there been anything?
We've been so lucky. Everything's gone just so well. You know,
Really?
there's really nothing that's been terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, just we've all had a lot of life, you know.
Right.
But man, it's all just gone well, and it's a cool thing because whenever somebody's struggling with something, somebody else is able to pick that up and make it. That's the beauty of having partners, you know.
Exactly.
I can tell you that I couldn't have done it on my own, and it would not have gone near this well on my own. And I think that any of the other three would say the same. But nothing's. Yeah, man, we haven't had to jump over a lot of hurdles yet. It's been pretty good.
Now, did they all have clientele to bring?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, had they
some
worked
more
here
than others because they're just. I mean, Steph's been doing hair for like 25 years or something.
Okay.
We like to say we have like 35 years experience. It's like she's got them all. So
I gotcha.
We ride her coattails.
There you go.
But yeah, everybody had a pretty solid little group of people to bring. But we've gained a lot too, and so we actually have a fifth barber coming. I think in July sometime.
Oh wow!
Whenever he graduates, so that'll be cool. So like we're still growing, which is we didn't think we'd be doing that for quite a while.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, we're growing. It's good.
That's awesome, man. Now, like, as far as like, do y'all like sell product and stuff in there too?
No, not really.
I didn't.
We actually just talked to a beard company today. Funny enough, it's a beard oil company. And I forget the city. They'll have to forgive me, but there's a local beard oil company that we're talking to about a partnership. So that they're selling their product. So that'll be really cool, maybe. But no, we don't do a lot of products or anything like that.
I gotcha.
We're just there to try to make your day a little better and make your hair a little shorter.
Right.
So.
I didn't know how like Dapper Dan you got into that some of that stuff. You know, I mean, as far as like if I was to come in there and be like, I want the full beard treatment. Like,
we'll do it. We'll do it. We just don't sell the product afterward generally. Now, we do have people we just go buy it for because
I gotcha. Yeah.
If you're licensed, you get it wholesale. So if somebody wants something, we just go buy it for them and bring it back to them.
Exactly.
We don't mark up anything, but no, we don't get into the product world. We do sell some merch now, though. So
okay. What kind of merch are you selling?
Hats, T-shirts. We have koozies. We have all those.
Yes,
right there. Hey,
exactly.
Koozies.
Exactly.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
That's awesome, man.
More stuff every day.
More stuff every day.
Yeah.
Now, are you all like? Is there any future plans, like as far as like expansion or anything wild like that? I mean, besides the adding the fifth chair.
Not yet. We'll just wait. And see
so is that technically going to be the first employee, or are they like, or
so
is it more of like
renter.
a rental?
It's a rental thing.
Okay.
We are in the barber industry to help.
Okay.
Right? Like it's a booth rent situation. That's how it is in anything, right? Which is kind of why it's easy to go off on your own. But we just want to, by bringing him in, we've talked about it. The thing that we want is we want to be the place where barbers say, hey, I want to go work for those guys or with those guys, not for us. We don't want anybody to work for us. We want to work with us.
I gotcha.
And so we want to be the place that people want to come work. Not because we want a million barbers, but because we just want that reputation. We don't want to be a place that anybody talks anything more than just perfect about, you know?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, our whole goal with him is to help him, man. He's going to create a heck of a business. He's an awesome dude. He'll probably bring more customers than we have anyway. So
I gotcha.
He's
Well,
doing
and
really
that's and see, and I think like more businesses, need to look at that aspect. It's one of those where it's like, we want people to use us almost kind of like a stepping stone to their own own progress and own fulfillment of life or whatever it is. It's like, and that's awesome that you all provide something for that.
Yeah, we just want to be a place where a barber can come and, like I said earlier, you get those first 5 weeks are super important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone can come there and feel comfortable and learn from us in those first 5 weeks, not that we have much to teach, but they'll learn something. Maybe they'll learn what not to do.
Right.
And so, whatever we can do for them, that's great.
I mean, like, okay, so like learning wise, like, were you always like fairly decent, like at picking up things like that?
Yeah, I'm a watcher in everything.
Okay.
Like I'm just gonna watch.
You kind of watch, then you can do.
Yeah, and then I do it, and I'm like, well, that wasn't right at all, was it? And then you figure it out from there.
Right.
But yeah, I just kind of watch everything. That's kind of that way with music too.
Okay.
I'm a terrible person to go to concerts with because I'm just watching all the stuff that no one else is paying attention to. Because it truly doesn't matter,
You're right.
I went to a concert 2 weeks ago. All Time Low and Mayday Parade, two of my favorite bands.
Hey, all right.
I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, man, there's not a real amp on stage anywhere. No amp.
Really?
Which is very common, probably for the last 15 years.
Okay.
It's just like they've been like putting amps up there for like, hey, look, we have amps. But now they're just like, hey, we don't have any amps, man. You know,
Right.
there's no amps. It's all coming. No one else cares about that. I guarantee you. I mean, there's 3,000 people at that venue, right?
Mhm.
Maybe 2 other dudes thought about that. You know,
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not fun to go to concerts with because I just watch. I like to watch. You know,
Right.
yeah, I think it's important to watch. You learn. So.
Well, and I think so too, you know, and it's kind of one of those where, and I think you're exactly right. Like, there's probably just a handful of people that would ever notice that at a concert like that, you know, because just kind of like you said, it's like, I think people are too fast paced to even care. You know what I mean? But it's kind of one of those too, where it's like talking to like my dad per se, or like my Uncle Steven, you know, it's like, well, they've been to like old school Kiss concerts and stuff like that, and they're just like, man, it's like you can hear them hum. It's
All
like,
right, so I have a fun story about Kiss. Somebody told me this. I don't want to throw it down as fact because I don't remember who I heard it from. I think it was Casey, who's the singer for Dear Pretender.
okay, mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't him, I'm just going to throw it on him. But I've heard that Kiss specifically, and if we get sued, it's on you.
Oh yeah, okay.
That whenever the spotlights, like they would tell the light guy, don't hit certain spots because you know those big stacks of amps. Most of them didn't even have speakers.
Really?
Now I could be making that up. They didn't have speakers in them. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Exactly.
And maybe only allegedly from me. Maybe I'm making this up.
Now, is that
but I feel like if we Google it, we might get a couple conspiracy theories.
Well, I would say you're exactly correct. Now, is that like recent time story, or is, you know what I mean?
Man,
are they doing what everybody else is doing?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know?
Man, if you look back at those pictures, if all that stuff's plugged in, I don't even think they have enough power to run it.
Right.
But yeah, that's the thing is, I think there's been a lot of that stuff for a long time, which is not bad. Not bad at all.
It's the aesthetic.
Yeah, there's this whole thing with backing tracks. You know what backing tracks are? So live, like sometimes you'll hear like an orchestra playing in the background.
Okay.
There's no orchestra on the stage, right? It's a backing track.
Right.
And so like when people were like lip syncing, for instance.
Yes. Okay.
Backing track. So this backing track thing has a really bad connotation because of that. For lip syncing, and well, they're not actually playing guitar, right? Mm-hmm. And now I was just at that concert, right? The first band he's a solo artist. His name is Games We Play. I just learned about him. He's actually super cool. But he's a solo artist, but he's a pop punk band, right? And so it's kind of like my Catfish Jackson record, like I recorded most of it, but it's a whole band, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, it's kind of like that. So but on stage, there was a guitar player, a drummer, and him, no guitar, right? So singer, guitar, drums. Mm-hmm. But you hear bass, and you hear like all these 808 trap grooves, and you hear all these, cicada hi-hats and all this stuff like that, right? Because they're using backing tracks. They're not hiding it, and they're not playing, like they're not. It's not a bad thing. Right. But everybody hears backing track, right? And they think lip sync, stuff like that. But anyway, that's another hill I'll die on. With the speakers don't matter, and backing tracks are good.
I gotcha.
Enough,
okay. Yeah. Right. Well, and it's kind of one of those too where, like even talking about the speakers, it's like, I just remember like one of the very first concerts I went to, and it was like a country band. You know what I mean? It wasn't nothing crazy by no means. But I was just young enough to where I was like excited. I'm like, oh man, it's like finally dark, lights, I'm like, okay, here we go. And it was one of those where it's like the bass from just the drum is all it took. And it was one of those things where it's like, it just instantly was like cold chills. Yeah, I was like, you feel it so much, just that.
There's something about live performances that are fun.
Right?
Yeah, you feel it. You feel it for a long time. Wear ear protection.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's a cool thing, man. It's really fun to play too.
Oh, I bet.
But yeah, it's cool.
Now, okay, so just like that. Speaking of music, speaking of concerts, we'll kind of roll right into that. So of course we know like a little bit of background, like you've done a little bit. So kind of start us from that aspect. Like when did music, really kind of take over as like a passion for you?
The music in general has been in my life forever, as long as I can remember. So I'll give you the little thank God I have the parents I do story.
Okay.
Because I would not do this for my kids. So I think I started playing guitar in like 3rd grade, let's say. 3rd, maybe 4th. I don't know. But I didn't really take to it. I didn't really practice. Like I think I was okay.
Does anyone in your family play?
My dad, I think, dabbled in it,
Okay.
But not really. It was just a thing. I was just like that skateboard kid, and I wanted to do cool things,
Well, of course. Yeah.
And so I did the guitar, right? But I just didn't care to practice, right? And it just didn't stick, right? Mm-hmm. And we're leaving, I think, Instrumental Influence at the time, after my guitar lesson. and I see these drums sitting there at the door, right? And I'm like, I want those, And God bless my parents, and whatever, but my dad bought them,
Right.
which, thank you. I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, shout out Dad.
Jesus. And so from then, though, like drums clicked, right? And that was it. I had this Tama Rockstar kit, and it had a VHS. I put that thing in, man, and I was in, right?
I got you.
And then, also, God bless my parents, because I'm not doing this for my kids either. My dad had one of those, like, real big, like, the speakers come up to here from the floor, right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
Big, right? 6-disc changer. I would crank that thing all the way up to 11, and I would play over it. And that's how I kind of, like, I took lessons and stuff, too, but that's how I would, like, practice, right?
Right.
And, man, I would do that for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, I'm not doing that for my kids. It was so loud. And it was the same crappy, like,
was you, like,
Creed
in
song
the house?
over and over. Yeah. I'm in the basement. You can't
Okay.
escape that, Like,
Right.
it's coming up the floor. And, but, dude, and that's the thing, though. It's the same crappy, like, Creed song over and over again. And then, just over it. Man, I would not do that for my kids. But that, I was hooked on drums, right? Like, I love drums. And then, I just did that all the way through high school. And then, like, once you get to, like, middle school, high school, I think I started playing guitar again. Because I was like, well, I can't, like, show a chick how cool I am with my drum song,
Right, exactly,
and so
yeah.
let's learn some John Mayer tunes or something,
Well, of course.
And so I started learning, like, guitar, and then that stuck. And then I was a music major, and so I had to learn piano, which I was not a fan of in the beginning. I was like, I want to learn piano. And then I freaking love piano, man. I wish I was way better at it than I am. I wish I would have started a long time ago.
Right.
And so, but because the drums clicked, everything else I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
I can't play anything that you blow air through. I'm really bad at it. Like,
Okay.
any kind of horn, I cannot. I don't understand it. Those guys are insane. I don't get it. But I just wanted to learn how to play things, like, in there since then. But it was because my dad let me buy those stupid drums for whatever reason. So
Right.
That's kind of cool.
So, like, whenever you were learning, so was the drums like the kind of like the main thing you really learned how to play first?
Yeah.
Now, like, whenever you, like, say, got back into a little bit of guitar and, other things like that, it's like, do you play them like you play the drums? Like, do you...
No.
You
No,
don't?
no.
Okay.
Well, I'm not. I would say that I am a drummer that can play other things.
Okay.
Like I can convince you that I can play it, but I'm not very good. Right?
Gotcha.
So,
Right. Can you read music and
yeah,
all that?
yeah,
You can?
yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's just one of those, because I went the actual route of, like, band through high school and stuff like that.
Okay.
I got some of that more formal training, and then obviously in college.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I can read, and I think it's really important. There's a lot of people that don't think music theory is important, which is perfectly fine. Dave Grohl's one. That dude can't read music, and I don't think any of us are saying that dude's not writing good tunes.
Exactly.
So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I learn a lot from understanding music, and I'm a very basic knowledge of music theory.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy at least understanding some of that. I think it's really important for. So, like, if we're working on a song and Casey or somebody is like, let's do this, I can say, well, why don't we try this instead?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I know what by the numbers should happen, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I know that 2 + 2 = 4.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not to say that you can't put 2 + 3 in there and get something really cool too,
Right.
But I think it gives me a nice little foundation of, let's try this and see where we can go from there. But I know where to go, And
Right.
it's also a thing where if I'm in a more professional setting,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like a rock band setting,
Right.
not that rock bands aren't professional, because they are, but in a setting where I'm reading music, say, it's a good thing for me that you can hand me a chart and I can probably play it
Okay.
on drums, right? If you hand me something, whether it be a Latin groove or a rock song or a Broadway tune, like, I'll get through it. It'll be okay. But that's because of music theory knowledge and stuff like that, right? So yeah, I think that all of that's pretty important, but you can go any route you want to with it and get amazing results.
I got you. So it's kind of like learning the base principles of it, kind of getting the foundation of it down.
Sure.
And then you can kind of modify it from there.
Yeah.
To make
But
your own
so
style.
our guitar player, Evan Stratton, he can't read music, and that guy makes the craziest solos and licks that I've ever heard, right?
Mhm.
He has a guitar solo in one of our songs that to this day is my favorite guitar solo of all time. And I remember hearing it the first time on Facebook Messenger when he sent it. Like the day before recording, I think. He was like, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And we're like, "Holy shit, dude! Like, what is that? You can do that?"
Right.
The song is "God's in the Park," and it's on Dear Pretender's first record, Spotify.
Oh, there you
Evan
go.
Stratton.
There you go.
But anyway,
all streaming
that dude
platforms.
can't read music, and I could never write what he wrote. Right? Like that is insane.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I don't think any of it really matters in the end, as long as you're just having fun with it and learning in whatever way you're learning.
Well, that was always the crazy thing for me. Like just like talking about that. It's like, man, you come up with this crazy solo and it was amazing and we all love it and it's awesome. It's like, how do you repeat it?
Yeah.
It's like if you
you can go back and you can dissect it and you can play it again, but I don't think you can get that there's like little transcendent moments, right?
Right.
And I don't think that you can get those.
I mean, is that something like that? Is that like a program now though? I mean, is it one of those where it's like you could literally play into a program and then like can something dissect it for you in the sense of like, okay, this is exactly the tone of where you're at,
That's been happening for years. You remember that movie Drumline?
Yes.
Okay. So like he plays this thing, spits out music. Now what it spit out was not what he played. But that's been happening forever where you can just play something and then the computer tells you what you played.
Okay.
All the music tech stuff is way above my head.
Right.
But thank God for people like Kyle. He produced all the records and recorded all of our records. And guys like that answer those crazy music tech questions that I don't understand.
I got you.
That has math, science, words that I don't get.
So, all right. So like that. Okay. How many bands are you in?
Man, like 7 and 0 all at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dear Pretender is the band that I play drums in. That's what I say, like my band, right?
Okay, all right.
And so that started with Casey Sampson, right? And so I was cutting his hair, and he had a Blink-182 tattoo, and I was like, "Hey, I have one of those." And then, long story short, we played music together. A band was formed, and so there's like Casey, me, Evan, and then Kyle is our bass player / producer / whatever he has to do that day.
Now, in Dear Pretender, does he write most of the music?
Yeah, well, the first record, yeah, and then from then, I think it's very like
kind of a good collab.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, not me, it's them, man. They're doing it. It's Evan Casey a lot.
That was always kind of the thing.
Both of them kind of write together or bring stuff and form. Like this new record that we're doing, we just recorded drums for like 2 weeks ago. No, it's been like 2 months ago now. They've been recording guitars and stuff like that. But this new record is a really cool mix of like everybody. So it has one of the first songs that we wrote together as a band on it, which was like 5 years ago now, I think. And we never recorded it. It was just we had this show coming up. It was a Battle of the Bands at the Lantern House, and we needed like one more song to make a 15-minute set. And so we wrote this crappy little punk song. And it turned out to be a really, really good song, but we've just never recorded it. And so now we're recording it. And so there's like that, plus there's stuff that Evans brought and stuff that Casey's brought and stuff that we've just like heard a riff when we're rehearsing. And you're like, well, let's play with that. And it turns into a song. And we get to do live horns on this record because I am on the music department and I can just beg for favors and they're nice enough to do it. But it works out to where our music department has a trumpet player, a trombone player, and a saxophone player, which is the perfect combination for a ska band.
Hey,
and so we got some ska tracks and stuff, and that's really cool. So we get to have a lot of fun now with this record, with just being able to. We did like the first record. You're asking like who writes, right? It's like Casey did a lot of those songs on that first record. Man, he's had like 10 years, and then we recorded that, and then we did an EP that was a whole lot of like this is what we wrote together. And then this one's just fun. None of it makes sense. There's an instrumental track on it, I think, which is weird. Like, we don't do those,
right?
And there's ska tracks. There's like horn punk songs, but then there's like dark Foo Fighters songs.
Ooh!
So it's a really fun way to record and do our record. It's been very different.
Now, how many albums have y'all put out?
Man, 2.5. This will be the second full record.
Okay.
And it'll be, but we did an EP. So we did a record, an EP, and now this is our record.
Okay. Now, how many songs do you have on there?
13 to 15.
I gotcha.
I can't keep track, man.
Okay.
I do what I'm told.
There you go.
I show up, I play drums, they say that wasn't good, do it better, I do it. And then they just live with whatever I do.
Right.
And then I just go away until they tell me they need me again. for recording. I think there's like 13. There's a lot. I think we started out saying, hey, we should do like 6 songs, and then here we are.
Okay, so like when you're doing a collab like that, when you've got different aspects of the band that's kind of bringing different attributes to this same song, how do you get it all to just morph together in a sense? Like, because, I mean, in my mind, it's like, I would feel like, is it just one of those things where you're all kind of hearing the same thing?
Yeah, those are those like little transcendent moments from earlier that I mentioned. It's like, so I think what's cool is, so me and Casey have very similar musical tastes, writing styles. If he plays something, I know where he's going.
Okay,
right?
Exactly.
Which is why, like, he and I wrote the Catfish, like, he was the one I went to for my Catfish Jackson record. To be like, I need help, and you're my dude, right?
Yeah, because it was just you two, right?
Yeah, we wrote all of that record, which was fun. But yeah,
phenomenal, by the way.
He and I get him, right? I know where he's going. Evan, though, is like a real punk rocker, right? Like, I'm like a Blink-182 punk rocker. That's where it starts for me.
Right.
He knows like bands that are like act like cool, and I don't know what they do. You know, I don't know where he's going if he's doing stuff. But that's really cool because me and Casey are going to go here, but then he's going to go here, and then what matters is can you come back together, right?
Right.
But that's not one of the things that you can just do, and that's why like some songs sit on the floor for 5 years before we record it because it just didn't come together, right?
Right.
And that's the fun part is seeing if anything does, and luckily for us, it has for a while, and it's done really. We've had fun with it, but there are ones that don't. They just. Man, we have this one song. It's called Metal because you always have like made up names. It's called Metal. I still have not gotten it right. Right. Okay. I know I'm the problem. I'm the Taylor Swift in this one. Right. I'm the problem. He has this riff, and I truly believe it's great. I don't know what to do. Right. And so it's just one of those things. That one doesn't work. You know. And so but that's kind of why. That's kind of why there's the different projects.
So when it comes to the drum, like, does everyone just leave it up to you to figure it out, or is there like
they're
other
pretty nice
input?
To me, and that's kind of how it works. Though is that's my thing, right? I play drums. Now, if I do something that's just not right, they'll say, "Hey, let's try something else," right?
Okay.
But then that's the same for them, you know. So whenever Evan puts a solo down, I don't think we've ever once been like, "Well, do more widdly diddlies here," you know? It's
right, right.
That's your thing. You do that. We'll do this, and then at the end, we have this really cool song that we created together. You know?
What do you think starts first? I mean, like in your process, would it be the lyrics are first? Or
so for writing a song in general, so it's different for different things. So for me, for like the Catfish Jackson record, for instance, it starts with me and an acoustic guitar just kind of like strumming through random stuff, random chords until I'm like, well, that sounds like something I'm interested in right now.
Okay.
And then it's what kind of melody sounds okay with that, and then it's what kind of words can I put into that melody. It's very scientific, I think, for me.
Okay.
Just the way my brain works. But I've heard Casey before say, I heard this one line on a Angel, that show, or Bones or something, some CBS drama, right? He's like, I heard this line, and so I wrote this song. I'm like, you did what? Like, you heard a line in a movie or in a show, and then just decided we're writing a song about it? You know, my brain doesn't work like that, right?
Right.
But as far as like Dear Pretender as a whole and how we write, generally it's either someone has a whole like verse, chorus, chord progression figured out, and they're like, here, this is my song. Or it's, I have this riff, right? And they'll play a riff, and let's jam on it for a little bit and see if it turns into something. And then once it falls apart, you put it away and you try it again the next week, right?
Right.
And that's kind of how we've written so far.
Okay.
But now we're getting more into studio writing, which I love, because it's we had like this record. Some of the songs I recorded, dude, I've heard like once. Like I know I played them a lot,
right?
But it's been so long that I don't remember them.
Okay.
And so it was like I listened to it starts with a click track, which is like your metronome plus a vocal and a guitar, like all just nasty and gross, right? Just one take, get it through. So that's what I play drums to whenever we do it, and so. Yeah, it starts like that, and then it just builds from there. But it's a very long, drawn out process. Yeah. Very long, drawn out process. Sorry, I'm not good at getting into the mic.
No,
you're the music guy.
Man.
I sit way back, and if you go to any live shows, I do the same thing because I don't like talking. So
there you go. So like whenever, So with this Catfish Jackson, you say you and Casey kind of got together on some of these things. Like he kind of he just kind of guide you into a direction, and you just kind of took off with it from there, or is it one of those?
The Catfish Jackson record, I've always had this thing. So because I can play quite a few different things, I've always wanted to see if I could do a whole record by myself.
Gotcha.
A lot of people have done it in the past, and I thought it'd be fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but when I started, I've never truly done it, and so he had this one song. It was called "Love You in the Moonlight." It's the third track on the record, and he brought it to like a Dear Pretender. No, I think I made him bring it. He was like, I have this country song, but it doesn't work. And I was like, well, I want to hear it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He played it. We're like, yeah, that doesn't work for Dear Pretender, but I liked it. And so like 2 years later, I just demoed it in my bedroom and just made it a song. And that kind of sparked me wanting to finally just make the record, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was like, hey, I want this song. He was nice enough to give it to me. And then I went and just wrote the rest of the record, essentially by myself. Mm-hmm. And he was, I'd bounce ideas here and there, but really I just kind of like was able to lyrically write that record myself, and kind of overall song arrangement. And then Casey and I and Kyle produced the whole thing, which was all the, adding everything else into it. There's fire parts, there's all kinds of stuff. And we had Chris. It needed a little something else. Because it's kind of like the emo kids version of country, right?
That's what I was just getting ready to ask. I was like, what would you classify this as?
That's it.
Yeah, like an emo country.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like when we were talking about it, it's like well, it sounds like Missouri.
Yeah,
it's like a Missouri style of music,
and that's the goal. And I think a lot of that comes from Chris Kalsoff on there. He plays harmonica for us because like we knew it needed that. So it's a very like country arrangement wise. Mm-hmm. You have drums, acoustic guitar in it, very twangy, jangly guitars, like Rhodes organ and stuff like that behind it, and it's very country. If you take the vocals out, that's a country track, right?
For sure.
But I don't sing with an accent.
Not at all. Not at all.
So, and I can't. I've tried. It's not good. And so it's got like just different vocals than country. So I didn't want it to have like a fiddle, right? It didn't need that, but harmonica, right? And Chris just destroys that thing, and he was nice enough to come in and just do it, right? It was great. And we played one live show too, and he was nice to do all those rehearsals and play live for me.
Right.
And yeah, dude, he I think he brings a whole lot of that, just the thing that grounds it, pulls it all together, just the Missouri aspect of it.
Exactly.
Which is what I wanted out of it, was just to feel like home, and it does, I think.
Well, I feel like that, it does kind of feel like home. Like when you're listening to it, you're just like, exactly. Yeah. There's just certain points in certain songs you're like, yep, I get that 100%.
And like everybody's been to that like weird county fair show that had like a band that sounded like that playing, And
exactly.
That makes me happy. I like it.
Now, lingering question. Where did the name come from?
So Catfish Jackson is a non-playable character in Red Dead Redemption 2. It's like this random little storyline.
Yeah.
And I love that game. And so the Lonely Bones band, there's a band out of Canada called the Honest Heart Collective. And they wrote a song called The Lonely Bones. And I love that band, and I love that song. And so I did that.
Nice.
I just named it that. And they were super cool, man. I sent them a message, and I was like, hey, I totally stole this, And he was super nice to me, and like I sent him a CD. He's just, they're really cool dudes, man. They're just like some road dogs out of Canada, just playing 200 shows a year trying to make it,
Right.
But they're on Spotify. Check them out, the Honest Heart Collective. I heard them in GNC actually. Whenever
when
John was there, I was like, man, because that's when I started talking to him.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, no one's ever heard that band. Why are you listening to them?
Right.
And he was like, this is why, and that's actually how I met him. So.
Well, and that was kind of the cool thing too, because like that, he had actually told me about like the Blink-182 tat and stuff on you before I even met you, because we met at the store as well, But all right, well that's kind of neat. I was wondering about that. I was like, because I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, what kind of wild ass story is involved with a name like that, man?
And what's cool about the art, I think it's there, right?
Yeah.
So Evan, the guitar player for the band, he's a vice president of Impact Designs, a hell of a graphic designer. And so I sent him the tracks, and I gave him the name, and I was like, I need a front cover, and this is the first thing he sent me back, and I was like, yep, that's it, and that was it, man. Like he that vibe that he created on that is really good too.
and it's one of those where it does match the record.
Yeah, it absolutely matches.
For sure. Awesome. You know what I mean? It is really, really good. And I have absolutely loved it. I was listening to it today. It's been awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Now, one thing about it, so you did bring a few of these.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little giveaway. So leave a comment. We'll get with you just kind of like we did last time. We'll have a drawing if there's enough comments, enough names, things like that. And we're going to give a few away. And like I say, we'll just kind of meet up there at the store there here in Sedalia, and we'll do it all there. But man, dude, it's been awesome. I mean, I feel like, okay, I'll ask you, even though I'm just wondering. It's like, do you feel like your style from music has really kind of transferred over into your style of like, for your barber, for your work?
I think it's all just where it all comes together, right? It's just Missouri, right?
Okay.
It's a thing. It's a Midwest thing, I think.
Okay.
And so yeah, like it all has this. Around my station, I have like all my favorite records up there.
Mm-hmm.
But then around Josh's station, he has these like deer head things.
Right.
Scare the crap out of me. And then around Steph's station, she has like pictures kids have drawn for her and stuff, right?
Right.
And then Roy's got like his family and like some art that he did, like took pictures of. And so what's cool is I think so that's everybody's thing, right? And so, but yeah, it carries over, man. It all connects, but it all connects for everybody. You know?
Well, I just wondered like that as far as like in the mental aspect, because just like that, I mean, your music is an art form. What you do for a living is also an art form.
Yeah.
You know, and I just wonder, it's like that. It's like, I mean, because you can tell that you take pride in both. You know, they both mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
You know, and it is really cool to see, and it's amazing to see that as a local thing. You know, it's like local musician, you know, a local business owner, and we all get to be a part of that in a sense of like we get to listen to your music.
Yeah.
You know, we get to benefit from an awesome haircut. I mean, it's phenomenal how awesome this community can be. You know,
sure.
And I'm sure like when you all started, just like you're saying, it's like it's getting bigger all the time. It's like the community support behind a new business like that. You know, it's like it's what they need, and this community seems to do that for people. Absolutely. You know, I mean, it's amazing how many new business owners we've had on this podcast, and it's always been that way. You know, it's like getting people. You know, it's like I had pretty good people that maybe have followed me, and it's like I'm getting new people all the time, and it's always it's interesting to us. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those where it's like, well, we see people and new people all day, every day as well. You know,
for sure.
And it's one of those too where it's like we see them supporting us. You know, it's like we just want to see like how much it is actually supporting each other in this small community, and it's a very rural community.
Yeah.
So you get that small town vibe. You know, even though there's 30, 40,000 people, it's one of those where it's like it's still a small town.
Yeah, Sedalia is very small town.
Very, very small.
Which in a very good way. You know?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sure it has its bad aspects too, but in a very good way. I mean, the town does support itself and support each other.
Exactly.
Well, I think, which is great.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. You know, before we kind of close it out here, do you have anything like as far as like are you going to be doing any kind of musical stuff?
So the new Dear Pretender record is out in fall of 2023. Whatever that. I don't think there's.
Okay.
So fall of 2023. Go follow on Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Okay.
Dear Pretender band. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have an Instagram for Missouri Barber Company?
Yes.
Okay. Do y'all have anything big going on there? Like
Come
coming
get
up or anything?
haircuts, man. We're open 6 days a week.
Gotcha. What's your hours?
So Monday we're open till noon, 8 to noon. Tuesday through Friday we're 8 to 5. Saturday we are 8 to noon.
Gotcha.
So we're there. The only day we're not there is Sunday. We can get pretty much anybody. And but yeah, no, nothing crazy coming up with any of that, man. We're just all having fun, going for it.
Gotcha. All right.
Speechless.
Yeah, Speechless.
You told me that, dude. That's cool, man. That's a cool song. Thank you.
Yeah, it is an awesome song. But yeah, all right, awesome. Well, people, like I say, come up and see him there at Missouri Barber Company, located 520 West Broadway Boulevard here in Sedalia, Missouri, 65301. What is your all's phone number down there? Is it
660-851-2244?
Awesome.
Appointment or walk-in, whatever.
Okay, so you accept all?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
If you want a haircut, we got it.
Hey, awesome, man. Sounds good, buddy. Well, hey, we thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, man. It was awesome.
Dude, it was awesome. We appreciate you and everything like that. Like I say, leave a comment down below. Like I say, we've got some CDs we're going to give away. We're going to give away some huggers. We're going to have all kinds of things, so it'll be a good deal. But we just want to thank all of our subscribers. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. We appreciate everything. We appreciate you coming in. It's it's been like a month and a half trying to get this all figured out. But
yeah, it was good to be here, man.
Exactly. Well, thank you all so much. So, all right, guys. Well, we're gonna end it like we always do. We're gonna point at the camera. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Who are you?